I've wanted to film a conversation with Tony Deden of Edelweiss Holdings since the day we launched Real Vision, and I was thrilled when he finally acquiesced. I recently spent 2 days with Tony in the beautiful Swiss Alps and was treated to a masterclass of investment philosophy, filled with the kind of wisdom and insight that makes my journeys around the world to talk to successful investors so incredibly rewarding. Here's a little taste of what you can look forward to.
When was the last time you heard of a large aviation accident? A long time ago, right?
Right.
Well, about 50 years ago, they were in the news every day.
Yeah.
The modern aircraft is a marvel in man's ability to learn from error. Every single screw, every single rivet, every piece of equipment has been designed and has been put there purposefully, so it doesn't fall off the sky. In fact, for the last maybe perhaps 30 years or so, most aviation accidents are largely human error rather than mechanical. Flying an airplane is not terribly difficult to learn. What is difficult to learn is subjugating your actions to a certain judgment of what is right and why. It forces you to anticipate events, anticipate weather, anticipate changes in altitude, changes in attitude. It forces you to be constantly aware of your position in space. It forces you to be cognizant of the limitations of the machine you're flying, your personal limitations as a pilot. It forces you to deal with the uncertain events, equipment failure, for example, or instrument failure of some kind. There's a publication that analyzes every aircraft mishap that happens, and what it does really in essence is it allows the reader to focus on those ingredients and those components that contributed to an accident, however it was caused. It forces you to go back and think of circumstances in which you found yourself in a similar situation, and it forces you to understand the errors that others have made given certain things and what they should have perhaps done or how they should have thought otherwise. Deploying your capital is not different from that because you are also alone in the world. When you're flying an airplane, what other pilots do is completely inconsequential to you.
Right.
The same thing is true, in life, your person. What others do, given certain how they make decisions, it's not really as important as deciding what is in your best interest at that one time. It's not a competition. The business of investment is not about competition. So when you say people measure one's success or failure by a return on an investment, not just only in an investment portfolio, but also in a business setting, what they fail to see is those ingredients that have been employed or the means that have been employed to gain those. If I've earned X by not having more than 40% in equities all my life, that has to be measured against someone who has deployed all of their capital in a different way. If I have gambled or I have perhaps made one decision out of luck or coincidence that contributed a great deal to this thing. So it's very important to examine the source and the means that were employed and disregard the superficial aspects of what is there is not necessarily what it seems. If you gave me $100, for argument's sake, and I went to, somehow I came back to you the next day or the next week and gave you 200. And, oh, wonderful, this is exceptional. Now I set up a new firm called Tony Deden Investment Advisors, and my annualized track record has been XYZ, and I publish it and I put some charts and graphs. There's no question you're pleased with the results of my operation, but unless you ask how or why, you fail to see the means that were employed.
Yeah.
I've taken the chance of losing this capital, but it's not mine, of course, so it would be great. So at 2 and 20, I can really play with it, and if I win, I win. If I lose, I still win, and I'll find somebody else. The means are more important than the ends in so many of the important aspects of life.
Yeah, it's that story resonated with me because I think people today don't necessarily care so much about the means. It's all about the numbers. In the industry, it's become all about the track record and the performance. And investors and customers kind of feed on each other. If you have a bad year, people take assets away. They don't sit down and analyze, okay, why did you lose money? You know what? You were being very prudent with my capital. What you did was mitigate a lot of potential things that could have got wrong, but you made 25 basis points less than this guy who may have taken insane risks, but I'm going to take more money away from you and give it to this guy because his returns were better. You know, that obviously, that industry is anathema to what you try and do. To you, it's not about...
Well, look, man has a right to have their own idea about what it is that they wish to do. Now, more often than not, what man wishes to do is different from what he needs. That's more often than not. The problem with the financial world is that a typical investment firm accepts money from anybody, so long as they have money.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing they're interested in is having a copy of their passport and a utility thing and a blood sample or whatever it is. They have a offering memorandum or some kind of a instrument that they state their policy. No one reads those things anyway. And the only reason the man on the street puts money into this thing is because the track record in the last 2 years has been good. So it's sort of like a captain of a ship who allows anybody to just come on board. Think about this.
Yeah.
The ship is nice, clean, because I received very good reviews in the last month by the cruising magazine. So a lot of people come on board, and at some point, after it leaves port, somebody's going to be unhappy. They're going to see another ship going a different direction, and some people are going to say, no, I like to go there. Either the captain is going to be unhappy or the passengers are going to be unhappy. And the fact is that is an error, and that's based on the fact that everyone was allowed to come on board because everyone had money in their pockets. The idea of taking everybody's money because they have money, and so this is where things go wrong, because investment professionals earn money as a proportion of the assets they have, rather than a fixed amount of money like any other professional would have, whether it was a neurosurgeon or a thing for doing their duty. Doing my duty means that I should earn X, whether I was handling 100 or 100 million, isn't it? That's doing my duty.
Sure.
A surgeon earns the same surgical fee whether or not he operates on a butcher or he operates on Bill Gates. No.
Right.
He doesn't charge Bill Gates more because he can afford more. So the focus on the size of the pie on the part of investment companies is an error, I think, and it's okay, it's not a problem. But if there's confusion and disappointment, people should look in the mirror, professionals and customers alike.